Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Synopsys webinar called Building a 3D Medical Device Ecosystem at Yale University, New Technologies and Opportunities. My name is Karim Gench. I'm the Business Development Manager within the Simpleware Group at Synopsys. And with me is Dr. Daniel Wisnia. So Dr. Daniel Wisnia is an Assistant Professor of Orthopedic Surgery and an Assistant Professor of Mechanical and Material Sciences who specializes in reconstructive surgery of the hip and knee. He has expertise in total hip replacements as well as in partial knee replacements and total knee replacement surgeries. He also specializes in revision hip and revision knee replacements. Dr. Wisnia is the Department of Orthopedics Director of Technology and Innovation. In this role, he leads the coordination efforts in the use and development of technology and innovation in education, research, and clinical care. Examples include robotic and navigation, the use of 3D modeling, virtual reality and artificial intelligence, as well as patient care platforms to coordinate efforts across the department and the use of surgical advances in innovation. At the Yale School of Engineering and Applied Science, Dr. Wisnia teaches BME 404, Medical Device Design and Innovation. Dr. Wisnia teaches why medical devices fail and partners with physicians to tackle clinical problems with safe and effective medical devices. This course serves to translate research and engineering innovations into the clinical setting. So I'd like to thank Dr. Wisnia for joining us to present some of the work he's doing at Yale University. And in one of my posts, I mentioned how some groups take on Simpleware and, they're running, but I'd have to say Dr. Wisnia's group is really sprinting right out the gate. So it's really impressive to see how far and they've taken the software and how much they're integrating it into their different research and curricula and things of that nature. So I just wanted to get started here. I'll give just very briefly, this is a presentation followed by a Q&A. So this is all live and attendees will be muted throughout. So if you have any problems or you have any questions, we ask you to submit them in the question box. And we'll select a small number of audience questions to be answered live. If we can't get to your question, we'll follow up by email after the webinar, and it is being recorded. So if you've signed up, even if you haven't attended, you'll get a recording of this. And for those of you attending, you'll obviously get one as well. So again, any problems, please report them in the Q&A toolbox. We've got folks standing by who can address them. So really briefly, I'll just give a quick overview of Simpleware, who we are, what we do, and then I'll pass it off to Dr. Wisnia. So we're developers of high-end 3D image processing software. So Simpleware is within Synopsys. We have dedicated sales, support, and services teams with a global presence around the world with partners and direct channels, and we work with customers in clinical, life sciences, as well as materials and manufacturing industries as well, but primarily within the life sciences. So what we are, it's we off the shelf, we offer 3D image processing, a 3D image processing platform, the Simpleware platform. So it provides a comprehensive range of tools. So here, just in going around the circle here, you can import 3D, 4D image data, do the visualization. You can do your segmentation, which is the bane of many people's existence, but you can do the segmentation. We have all sorts of tools to help with that, from semi-automated to fully automated machine learning-based AI tools for specific joints. You can generate your models, whether that's STL for 3D printing or STL for design, or NURBS, a kind of a more CAD-friendly approach for design, or a full-on finite element volumetric FE mesh. You can integrate CAD geometries, you can do all sorts of measurement and analysis, and you can also script it and automate your workflows, really make the software your own with macros and things like that. So this is just to give you a little outline, a little view of what the software looks like. Your typical 3 orthogonal views with your 3D model on the bottom right, where you can import your image data, do all your image processing, do your segmentation, you can make animations, all that kind of stuff, and then export depending on what your context of use is. So why use our software? It's pretty easy to use and learn. It's fast and accurate, powerful, reliable, customizable. You can reduce your time to market. Try and speed up your workflows with the tools that we've got, with the interface that we've developed. And again, it's fully supported. We take our technical support very seriously, and that's a big part of our value is the people within our support group. Our engineers, they're definitely top notch, and our customers have been very happy with a lot of good feedback from them. So some of our applications within the life sciences and clinically, on the left, you see more of the consumer products, protective gear, wearable electronics, shoes, clothing, things like that. And on the right side is more the clinical or medical device applications. So implants, guides, pre-surgical planning, doing simulations of the different physiological phenomena within the human body. And then there's also 3D printing, so anatomical 3D printing or device design. So just a quick example is within a patient-specific surgical planning example. These are all based off of 3D, 4D, CT, or MRI data. You can design your surgical guide, for example, a knee replacement cutting guide, making that patient-specific. Surgical planning, for resecting bone, looking for the fit of an implant, or 3D printing. A lot of people are doing more point-of-care 3D printing, where you obtain a physical model of the patient's anatomy for pre-surgical planning and training. So stuff like this, where you can get a nice 3D model for your surgical planning. So the idea here is just to cut down intraoperative time, improve clinical outcomes, and just generally speed up your image-based workflow. So with that, I'll leave it, and I guess if we could pass it back to Daniel.
Okay, Daniel should be with you now.
Okay, can you see my screen, my presentation?
Okay. Yep, perfect.
So thank you so much for the introduction, and it's a real honor to share how we're using ScanIP here at Yale. And to just give you a little bit of an overview, I'm an orthopedic surgeon at the Yale School of Medicine. I also teach at the School of Engineering within the Mechanical Engineering Department. One of my collaborators and co-investigators is Dr. Steve Tomasini. We work very, very closely together. We work at the Center for Engineering, Innovation, and Design. And what I'm going to share with you today is a lot of the work that the two of us have done here at the Yale School of Medicine and the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences. And what I really want to offer you today is sort of an overview of how we have incorporated ScanIP into our academic architecture here at Yale University. And we use ScanIP across the entire university. It's used by dozens of researchers, students, and scientists. And I am going to share with you a lot of the projects and collaborations. And there's a lot of collaborations actually that we weren't able to share because they're proprietary information, but I hope to give you a really good overview of how we have incorporated it through the university. So one of the first uses that we had for ScanIP was through our medical device design course. And this is a course that Dr. Tomasini and I teach together at the School of Engineering. And we examine why implants fail. So for our failure analysis projects, what we do is we use ScanIP. And this is just an overview of what the course looks like. And in the course, we have some basic CAD tutorials. Most of the students are very good at CAD before they take this senior level course, but they don't have a lot of image processing background. They may have a little bit of finite element analysis background. And ScanIP has just been terrific in terms of helping us marry the two, in that patients are given CAT scans and MRIs of actual patient, and they then create 3D models of the anatomy. They incorporate implants into these models and then run simulations and tests and learn why some of these implants fail, make changes to the implants, incorporate these changes and do additional testing. This is a picture of our Center for Engineering, Innovation, and Design. It's our makerspace at Yale. And this is sort of where the Scan IP is really borne out and is sort of where it's incubated at the university before it really took over at the medical school and even at the School of Architecture. So just to give you an idea, I think in a university setting, you need to be, you need to have the software to do the innovation. And you can't innovate if you don't have that basic building blocks. So this slide shows you where it shows you those building blocks. So at the top is Simpleware Scan IP, which is really, in my mind, what holds the glue together and brings all these different software packages together. And then other packages that interface really well with Simpleware Scan IP are Abacus, which is a terrific finite element analysis package, SolidWorks, which a lot of the students are very used to using. It's very easy interface and interfaces really well also with Simpleware. And then we have some imaging software that we use when we're planning cases at the hospital. OrthoView is one of those. And then we use MATLAB and Slicer sometimes when we're printing. So a big question that I'm asked a lot is, how do we set up our licenses? And how do we give access to everyone at the university access to this software? So I just wanted to give you an idea of what we do here at the school. We teach a class, and using the Simpleware Scan IP as a major feature of the class, we have 20 teaching licenses, and the students are able to access this through a few different interfaces. One, we have a remote MyApps sort of cloud-based application, and they can access Simpleware Scan IP through that MyApps remote interface. We also have a supercomputer in my lab, as well as a high-performance computing center, and we can run Simpleware Scan IP on both of those clusters, and we find that it runs really nicely in that environment. And we also allow the students to run the software on their desktop and access the license through our VPN. So we have a similar setup with some of the other software packages also. But this just gives you an idea of all the different ways students, faculty, scientists are accessing the software. In our department, we have a 3D image library. This is a collection of hundreds of orthopedic CAT scans, MRIs that we can pull from when we're doing our 3D modeling work. This is a patient consented database in which we're able to access MRIs and CAT scans. And what it allows us to do is, when we have a hypothesis, we're able to test it on a small set of data before going deeper and submitting more investigational approval documents if we're going to do a large AI project. But this is sort of our core database that we use. And every image that we have, we also have associated 3D models. So the image library allows us to associate our scans with our images, and we commonly will upload our Simpleware Scan IP files into this library too and associate them with the original DICOMs. We also have 3D printers that we use in the department and at the School of Medicine. The two that we really focus on that I have found interface really nicely with the Simpleware software are the Ultimaker S5 and the Formlabs printers. And we're regularly printing 3D models, custom instrumentation, and it's, I'm going to show you some examples. Some of it I can't show just because of some proprietary work, but I'm going to show you a few examples of that in a minute. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a handful of examples of how we're using the software, and also paint to you how the software is being utilized by so many different services at the School of Medicine in collaboration with the School of Engineering, and how this software is really sort of the nucleus of our education for our mechanical and biomedical engineers who are trying to master image processing and 3D modeling techniques. So the first one I'm going to show you are some custom cement molds that we're developing. This was a project brought to us by our musculoskeletal oncologist, a patient with a tumor in their arm that had to be removed. And the plan was to remove the tumor and replace that defect with a custom cement mold. So we worked with our musculoskeletal radiologists, our 3D innovation team, which consists of mechanical and biomedical engineers. And we first using ScanIP, so I'm going to play this video. This is the CAT scan that we're scrolling through showing a patient's humerus with some hardware. And there's a plate with some screws. And then we create a 3D replica of the humerus. Here you can see the humerus bone. After going through additional image segmentation, we have this smoothed model of the humerus, of the cancer. And then this is a picture of a example of a cement mold that we were creating, just testing to fill that defect. And this is in SolidWorks, as you can see. And this is a picture of the cement mold where we poured the cement to then create the negative. So this is an example of how we're using ScanIP to create personalized custom cement molds. Second example that I want to give you is how we're working with neurologists, the School of Architecture, musculoskeletal radiology, and a research foundation to model tumors in the brain. So there's a condition called neurofibromatosis. These patients suffer from tumors in the brain. And what we did is using ScanIP, we took a high resolution MRI of the patient, and using that high resolution MRI, we created this 3D model of the patient's brain. And we isolated the two tumors in the patient's brain that are green and blue in this image. And then we created this virtual world where we were able to walk through this patient's brain. This was developed at the School of Architecture, and we are walking through the patient's brain and examining the location of the tumor. And this is all from that model that was built out in Simpleware. So this is an example of students working at the School of Architecture with our neurologists and our psychology team, the team that's studying the neurofibromatosis and examining the tumor, and literally walking around this patient's brain and examining the tumor in 3D. We're also very interested in orthopedics in the upper extremity, modeling different biomechanics of the upper extremity. And we have several industry partnerships in which we're developing implants, patient-specific implants of the elbow. What I'm going to show you now is just an example of a patient in which we've modeled a radial head fracture. So this is a patient CAT scan. And here you can see on the CAT scan the radial head fracture. And then what we have done is we've also created models of patients' upper extremities. One side is deformed, the other side is normal. On the left, the orange and green arm is normal. The red and blue arm has the deformity, and we're able to model that in 3D. And then we're very interested in the biomechanics and loads that are being placed on the joint. So what our goal is with this model is to export it and conduct some finite element analysis, comparing the loads at the articular surfaces on the radial head and on the capitellum. So this is a video just showing you the 3D model of the normal and deformed arm. And then here you can see we meshed the 3D model. And now that we've meshed this, we can easily import it into any finite element analysis package. Our preference that we've found that we like to work with as advocates, but you could export it into any FEA package. We also work with students at the School of Engineering who have formed a partnership with this group called Enable that makes custom prosthesis. So these are students at the School of Engineering working with surgeons at the Yale School of Medicine and the hand division, working through the Center for Engineering, Innovation, and Design. And this is a picture of a student, of a patient here playing a cello based on a prosthesis that was developed using this custom software. We're also looking at geriatric fracture prevention. So we have a team of engineering students working with the orthopedic trauma division in partnership with several different medical device companies that are developing implants to treat geriatric fractures. This example that I'm going to show you is specifically looking at hip fractures. This is a femoral, a proximal femur. The model is from a CAT scan that was image processed, and then we have implants, the actual STL part files that we've imported into the model, and then we are able to mesh our model and bring it into our finite element package. And here you can see we're looking at stresses and loads around the femoral neck, trying to see if this implant is going to prevent a fracture. And this is just another cut through looking at how our model is affecting the risk of fracture. This is a video that we put together just animating how the bone is deforming as loads are being placed through it. And then this is another video with the implant in place showing those stresses around the femoral neck. We're also creating custom 3D guides. So I'm going to show you a video of a 3D printed guide in which this guide is helping us direct guide wires into the femoral head. So what we've done here is we've created this guide in Simpleware using the 3D printing software, the recent addition to the software, the 3D printing component. And this is a custom guide built specifically in ScanIP.
It conforms here really well.
And you can see in this video, we have these holes that are guiding the wires up into the femoral head, and the guide clicks onto the side of the femur. And this is a view of a femur in which we've actually placed the guide wires. So we have our cadaver femur in green. In yellow, we have the theoretical trajectory, the ideal trajectory of which we'd like to position the guide wires. And then red is the actual trajectory that the guide wires were in. And you can see that they're a little bit off. So we were able to take this cadaver femur with those guide wires, get a high resolution CAT scan, create this model, evaluate the performance of our guide. This is another view with another attempt where we were making some adjustments to the guide. So one thing that we're very fortunate is at Yale to have access to an imaging center where we can take our take CAT scans of our cadaver work and then bring it into Scan IP and evaluate whether we position the implants appropriately. This is another example of a geriatric patient who had a distal femur fracture. And in this image, what we've done is we've implanted a femoral nail to treat this fracture. And this is a model that we built out all using Simpleware and a real actual cadaver scan. This is a video, 3D view of what we built. So here you can see you have the femur. And in this model, we actually incorporated a plate. So you can see a plate with screws that were implanted to fix this fracture. This model is then imported in after it's meshed in Simpleware. We import it into our 3D model, our finite element analysis package, and we use Abacus at Yale for this. We found it to interface very nicely. This is another video of a custom total knee replacement project we're working on. And here you can see a patient with a tibia scan. So this was a preoperative CAT scan that was taken of a patient, and then we have implanted the components in Scan IP, looking at the anatomical fit of the components in terms of fit within the bone, sizing the components preoperatively, determining if the trajectory of the intramedullary stems are going to fit appropriately. What we've really enjoyed in this project is using the Simpleware finite element meshing tools, where we can get very accurate volumetric measurements. And this has allowed us to compare models in a quantitative sense. A lot of 3D modeling, you'll conduct a lot of qualitative analysis, but what's great with a Simpleware package are those measurement tools that help you obtain those quantitative measurements. So this is that arthroplasty project. Taking the CAT scan, creating the 3D model with image processing of the bones, importing the components. Another project that we're looking at is looking at patella tracking. So this is a group that's working with a team at the School of Engineering and our sports medicine team, sports orthopedics team, and our musculoskeletal radiologist, determining how to take high resolution CAT scans and MRIs and recreate the patellofemoral joint. This is a very rough model which we created of the knee, looking at the patellofemoral joint from an MRI. And this just gives you an idea of what we can spin up in just 10-15 minutes. This is a model of the cartilage of a distal femur. And so here you can see just within 10-15 minutes, we're able to spin up this fairly nice model of the cartilage, and it allows us to look at the articular surface quality and how the patella articulates there. And with just a little bit more work and analysis, we were able to clean this up, and it you know, the software is really straightforward and easy to use. So I hope what you've gathered from my talk today is just an impression that at the Yale University, we have found the software to really interface very nicely with the other packages that we use to conduct our engineering and custom surgical planning. And the second thing to take away is that within an academic environment, Simpleware, with its many potential license flexibility, can be used in a high performance cluster computer. It can it can be used remotely through the Microsoft My Apps experience and also through the VPN. We have found within our class the students to really excel at using the software. And feel free to reach out to me if you have questions how to integrate the software into your research, into your educational experience. We have found that it's added an incredible amount of learning to our biomedical and mechanical engineers, and has really advanced our ability at the School of Medicine to conduct custom personalized medicine.
Wow, great. Thank you very much, Dr. Wisney. That was great. You know, as I mentioned at the beginning, you know, it's really impressive to see how far your group has taken it into so many different applications. Like honestly, you rarely see kind of a single hub group be involved in so many different types of applications. So it's really interesting to see. So thank you. We're gonna conclude the presentation section there. So now we'd like to get into some Q&A. Also, I have some, you know, just to help with some interactivity, I've got some poll questions I'd like to ask. But before I get to that, I guess, Dr. Wisney, just kind of building off of how you ended, do you have any advice for any, you know, new professors, established professors who really want to explore this area and how to build an impressive program like what you've got with all these different collaborations?
Well, I have found that the software really speaks for itself, and the software is there's such a need for it on campus. So you know, it can be a bit of an investment at a university setting, and my recommendation is, you know, you can find collaborators or folks who are working on similar projects within the 3D space, and there's going to be a lot of people who are going to want to use this software. Radiologists, engineers, physicists, there's many different applications for it. And I think the real bonus of this software package is how it interfaces so well with all the other different common research packages that you may have. So from that standpoint. The other thing that I have found is using the software in our medical device design course has really been a strength, because it has gotten a number of students involved in using the software. They then take that software to their research labs, you know, not just my research lab, but they're in other labs. All of a sudden, we have other teams across campus using the software. So that has also helped grow the support on campus for the software. So one other thing that we do through the Center for Engineering, Innovation, and Design is we offer a quarterly course on how to use the software. And we have found that students, even if they're not enrolled in a course teaching this software, they'll come to that class, get their feet wet, and you know, you put the software in a student's hands, it's just things are going to snowball in terms of projects.
Mm-hmm. Very good, thank you. So let me, I'll start off with a poll question here. I was just going to ask the attendees here, which anatomies do you work with most? So obviously we get a lot of different applications, so I'm curious to see what areas people work in, and you can click all that apply. So we got cardiac, neural, orthopedic, vascular, or other. I just kind of started with the top 4 that we typically see. So I'll leave this open for a minute. So I guess Dr. Wisney, I guess yours is primarily orthopedic, but I saw some nice neural work that you're doing as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, so that's been a terrific collaboration. We're able to take those high resolution MRIs and create fairly good 3D models. And just based on my experience using this for orthopedics, it translated very nicely with the simpleware to neural. And we're actually now using this software to help train radiologists in the neuroanatomy. So there's a lot of potential to use this software for surgical planning, for neurosurgery, craniofacial surgery.
Okay, great. So let me just share these results here. So it looks like we got primarily an orthopedic audience, and then quite a bit of others, so outside of these other two domains. And then we got neural in the third here. So yeah, thank you for attending. Thank you for filling that out, folks. Just I'll get a question from the audience. Was the cement poured into the printed humerus mold methyl methacrylate or other? What prevents a direct 3D printing of such a portion of bone?
In this specific case, this patient had an infection. So we wanted to implant a negative that could also hold some antibiotics. So in that mold, we poured in methyl methacrylate antibiotic-laden cement. And the big question we had when we first started to do this was, how do you make the mold in a way so that you can open it after everything hardens, that the cement doesn't bond to the print? And these are all projects that we're working on and perfecting now.
Okay, great, thank you. So I'll have another poll question here. So if this is for the folks doing point of care 3D printing or just doing 3D printing, trying to bring this closer to point of care. So I just wanted to select the ones that apply. If it's a third-party service provider that does it, if you do it in-house, if it's clinical applications versus research applications, and if you receive reimbursement from insurance. So if you've gotten to that level yet, because I know the CPT code has been released. It's at a level 3. Level 1 is when it's like an insulin shot. Everything that gets reimbursed by insurance. So I know the 3D printing point of care world is working towards that. So I'm just kind of curious to see what the attendees here, those who do the 3D printing, how they're doing it. So I'll just let this. Looks like I've got some more. These things are still shifting on me, but yeah, it doesn't look like many people are getting reimbursed. But I'll just leave this open for another minute or so, or another couple seconds. All right, I think that should be, going once, going twice, closed. So let's share this out here. So yeah, a lot of people doing it in-house, and for just a little bit more on research applications versus clinical, and not really anybody's getting any kind of reimbursement from insurance. So we've started to see some groups getting reimbursement. It's not very typical. It just kind of depends on the institution. I don't know, I guess Dr. Wisney, are you seeing within the Yale environment, are you guys more involved with clinical 3D printing? Are people doing it at point of care with you guys?
So we have our system set up to do point of care 3D printing. We currently do not bill, and it's something that we're setting up, in the process of setting it up. You can imagine, the complexity from a legal and billing perspective, just to set this all up, and all the questions that are asked when you're arriving at a charge and cost. So that's something that we're working on internally. And, right now we're covering the costs of our 3D printing from our grants. But as our clinical applications are growing and growing, we're gonna have to transition over to that reimbursement. We just haven't done it yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'll just do one more poll question here. And then, so this is looking at what type of patient-specific applications do you work with most? So select all that apply. So 3D printing, implant design, simulation, surgical guide design, or surgical planning. I know there's a bit of overlap between all of these, but if you could click those that do apply, I think it's safe to say, Dr. Wisnia, you cover all of them based on your presentation.
And that's the great thing about this, simpleware package is that it's so powerful. It helps you with all of these different patient-specific applications. So it's I mean, we use it for all these things.
Great. Okay, so let's just leave this going for a little bit longer. All right, going once, going twice, and closed. All right, let me share this. So yeah, it looks like it's a fairly even distribution, but with 3D printing and simulation being the most, and then with implant design. Surgical guide a little bit lower, but got a pretty good smattering of applications of attendees here. So very good. So I think, Dr. Wisnia, I think we'll end it there. Really appreciate you giving us an overview. Again, our goal here is just to educate others within the academic world. If they want to develop these kinds of programs, I think yours is an ideal example of how to do that, and fairly quickly. I mean, how long have you been at Yale now?
I've now been at Yale for 3 years. We've had Simpleware for 2, and just the adoption has been lightning speed, and it's just incredible how the students, the researchers, our scientists, everyone has just adopted the software very quickly, and we found our need on campus growing. It's caused us to increase the number of licenses we have available to everyone as the demand grows.
Great. Well, Dr. Wisnia, thank you. We really appreciate the overview and the information you've shared with everybody. I hope maybe this could lead to more collaborations for you and maybe others who are in attendance. So with that, I'll thank you, and we'll sign off.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye.